And welcome in, everybody. Episode 6, Fire the Cannon, a Brook Hill Guard athletic podcast. Jeremy Everett here with you, and a little bit of a different episode today. It's senior trip week. It's the bye week for all of our athletes. Volleyball plays Saturday, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So a little bit of a different episode as I'm joined today by the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of the Brook Hill Guard, Brett Sweeney. Brett, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Just kind of recovering from the weekend. Just had a lot of getting back in the groove this week has been difficult, but a lot of good things to talk about. Especially this last Friday night's football game was a great time, and I'm excited to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get there in a second. It's funny because you mentioned that getting back into the groove. I woke up this morning. We're recording this on Monday, and I woke up Monday morning and I was like, man, it's the bye week. I feel like I got to go to work. I guess I got to do everything except play a football game this week. So I had to kind of get my mind right around that. You kind of get in that bye week mode, and it's like, well, everything else has to happen still. So I guess we don't just come to school to play football, as I think Jameis Winston once famously said. He comes to class to play, or he comes to school to play. He didn't come to school to play class. Sorry, let me get that one right. Um, you mentioned the football game, and I want to get there, but I do want to make note of a few other things coming up soon. Of course, homecoming week next week at Brook Hill is October the 6th. Friday, October 6th, we'll be hosting Arlington Grace Prep in what could be a very entertaining football game. Got to see a little bit of film on those guys already, and it'll be a fun one. We should be okay, but it'll be a little more entertaining than we thought. But October 6th is homecoming. October 9th, Founders Day at Brook Hill, honoring Bart and Christy LaRocca. Jonathan Evans, who is the chaplain for the Dallas Cowboys, and also the son of Dr. Tony Evans, if you know Tony Evans, will be speaking at Founders Day. That's on Monday, October 9th. And then Monday, October 16th, the Brook Hill Golf Classic, the 27th annual Brook Hill Golf Classic that raises funds for the athletic department.
Jeremy, how's your golf game?
It's not good enough. I'm not going to win the tournament, but it'll be fun. It'll be a great time. If you want to come out and make fun of the coaches playing golf, there's a couple of us, a couple of them that can play. I should say that Coach Agnew, hands down the best golfer on the staff. Coach Harrison likes to think that he can, but he's not there yet. But that's Monday, October 16th. All these things going on. If you want to come to Founders Day, obviously make the trip out. Brook Hill families, especially, man, you guys know how important Founders Day is to honor Steve DeMint, but also honor those who have meant so much to the school. And Bart and Christy LaRocca, I was actually talking to someone at the school today. Their kids came to Brook Hill later in their school careers, I guess. I think Nick was a freshman when he came. But we have that nice covered facility out there, the LaRocca Athletic Development Center. So the things that they've helped us out with there, come and honor them. And here, Jonathan Evans. Brett, I didn't know a lot about Jonathan Evans, and I still really don't. But I know there's two ways of thinking here. He's the chaplain for the Cowboys, which means he definitely has to get his prayer life right because the Cowboys need a lot of prayer. But also is the son of Dr. Tony Evans. To hear him speak, and I know that a lot of people have heard him, and they're excited about that. So come out and do that. You can contact the school for more information, 903-894-5000. And if you want to play in the Golf Classic, contact my wife at the athletic department, 894-5000, extension 5000, or you can email her at the letter T Hubbard at brookhill.org. A lot of sponsorship activities. You can play as an individual, as a team, and all that kind of stuff. But you have a couple weeks to do that. We're going to have Coach Dawkins on next week to talk about that. It's a huge fundraiser, Brett. I know you haven't been part of this before, but when you think about the fact that Coach Dawkins is responsible for raising every dollar that athletics spends, a golf tournament's a great way to do it. And it's hands down the biggest fundraiser we do.
We won't tell him, but he does a pretty good job, Jeremy. We want to give his ego any more of a boost, but he does a really good job with you guys' sports program. I've known Coach Dawkins personally pretty much my entire life. I actually had his wife as my pre-K teacher when I was 4 and 5 years old. So we go way back. And so getting to work with you guys over there at Brook Hill and Coach Dawkins, I mean, he's hands down. I know he enjoys his job. He travels a lot. And he's always out trying to get kids to come to Brook Hill, but he does a really good job at it.
He really does do a great job, and I think people who have been around Brook Hill for a while know how important he has been to not just the athletic department, but the life of the school and what's going on there. So all those things are coming up. So make sure and stay tuned to our social media accounts and all that good stuff to find out information about that. Speaking of social media, Well, maybe not so much social media, but Brett, let's talk a little bit about NetSN and what you guys have going on because we're going to talk about football specifically in a minute, but you guys are going to be heavily involved in Brook Hill the next few weeks with some broadcasts of both football and then I think even some volleyball broadcasts coming up soon.
Yeah, the volleyball broadcast. I think the next one we have is the All Saints game. I think that's the 10th. All
I
right,
believe
there.
so. Yeah, I think
October
so.
10th. Keith will be broadcasting out there. The big crosstown rivalry between All Saints and Brook Hill, have that live on NSN. And then to be the October 20th volleyball game, that will be the Dallas Christian game. We'll have a doubleheader that night. We'll have volleyball and football. I'm probably going to be involved in that some form of fashion, but we'll see. It's going to be a power pack night on NSN. We'll have volleyball and football, so busy night. So it's going to be volleyball, tailgate, football.
A lot of good food in between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna need it because probably going straight over there after work, so no time to stop. So get the volleyball game, get you guys a win, and then head over there to the football game. Get
So I
some
didn't
cool.
get to ask you this. Did you get to go to the tailgate before the game Friday? This
Oh
past Friday?
yes, oh yes. Okay, so I didn't run out of gas this time, so I got there at plenty of time to take my look around, and I got some good pulled pork from one
Oh,
of the vendors. Then I went
oh,
over and got some Chick-fil-A nuggets. Those are
oh.
never you can't ever go wrong there.
Mm.
Also had some mac and cheese, some chips. Cookie cake was a I went back to the cookie cake place. It was almost out. I think all those little kids almost ate it all before I got a chance to do that. But yes, but yeah, and even snuck in a cookie. So our whole crew got to
Golly,
eat this time. Yeah. Vince was there. He got there in time for food this time,
man.
and so our whole crew got fed, and we even got some after the game pizza with you guys there. So we
Yeah.
left. I left probably about 10 pounds heavier after the game.
Well, like I told you before, you got to walk up the bleachers a few times, so that'll take the weight off of you. Um, it's funny because I did text you after the game and say, "Hey, are you still around?" Because one of our coaches and our Brook Hill people know that Coach David Collins. He's not the most technologically advanced coach on our staff. He's not the worst, but he's not also not near the top. But I asked you if you could fix his app, and of course, you had that magic touch. As soon as you just walked in the room, his app was working all of a sudden. But there is an app that people need to download, the NetSN app, and I actually got a couple of our coaches on there that weren't on there yet, and I actually noticed, Brett, you and I do a show each week where we talk about the picks and that kind of stuff. But when I was going through the pick'em leaderboard from last week,
Mhm.
there was actually a lot of Brook Hill people I recognized on there, which I thought was pretty awesome. I'm looking at Chris Bell's name on here, who's got
Now
who
is that
went.
senior or junior? I wonder.
Well, I think this is junior. I think Chris is one who went to Brook Hill, and now his daughter's at Brook Hill.
Okay,
I
'cause
see.
I grew up playing golf against Chris Bell, so I've known the Bells a
Yeah,
long time.
he can
Uh,
play a little golf.
I can't say I have beat him before, but it's a long, long time ago. He got really good, and I kind of went the basketball way and didn't do as much golf, but very good family there.
Somebody you know very well, Tony Vining, of course, Brook Hill family now. Tyler Vining's dad, um,
Our app
Leland,
creator, our app developer, Tony
the
Vine.
app developed. I try not to tell people that, Brett, because I don't want people to bug him, but we're
But
just
he
going to bug him.
but he does do that it's his that's part of his job, and so I've actually had several people comment and ask about the app and got some referrals over to him. So, but yeah, Tony's done a great job with the app and it's been very patient with me. I'm like, ooh, let's do this and let's do this, and then I got all these people that like, oh, can we add this? Can we add the Twitter feed to the app? Can we add? I mean, all these people that I won't name them, but yeah, we
Yeah,
got lots of things planned for the app, and he's done a great job so far, and we got lots of things coming up on as well.
and then of course Leland Watley, one of our former coaches, who's one of our chaplains now. He's on there, so a lot of Brook Hill families get on that app. But NetSN app, man, you can check it all out: scores, pick'ems, rankings each week. All the game broadcasts are linked in there. So if you want to go back and watch a game, do that. And I think you'd mentioned this maybe a new update coming this week with some changes that were
Yeah, we have.
important.
Yeah, just we had an issue, and we'll give a shout out to our man Professor Diggs out there in the DFW. He's a buddy of ours, and he actually found the bug where he didn't get his pick in by the time the Thursday game. If there was a Thursday game on a pick 'em, it wouldn't let him submit the rest of them, which, I mean, maybe he should have gotten his picks in earlier. That's probably what we would have said. But needless to say, you should still be able to pick the other 9. So we're going to get that fixed in an update this week. So that way, if there is one of those games where maybe it's an early start and you forget to get your apps pick submitted, you'll take the L on that one, but at least you'd be able to, get the other 9. We don't want to have anybody making excuses. We got plenty of those on our show, make excuses on why their picks are wrong.
Yeah, that's Beast from the East is the show that comes out on Wednesday morning. I get to be on that quite often. That's making picks for the upcoming week, and then on Wednesday night live, we talk about the games from the prior week, as well as the rankings are released for that week. And Brook Hill's been on the pick'em a few times this year. Atlanta this past week we were on there, and I think the Grace game was on there, and Faith. I think so. We've been on there 3 out of 5 games.
Yeah, we try to include some of our Netison schools in the pick'ems, especially on games that are going to be a good competitive game. Of course, the Atlanta game was a really good one. The Grace game was a really good one. So yeah, I foresee a couple more times you guys being on the pick'em list. We try to pick the best games around the area, and those are the ones we go over. And then we wrap them up, like you said, every Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. live. It's interactive again, so you can come on and chat with us and let us know how bad you think our picks were, or maybe you did a good job this week and you want to brag about how good you did. You can come on the show and chat with us. We have some people that come on every week, Eddie and Derek and some of our faithfuls that are on every week. But come join us on Wednesday night. I will say, talking about the chat though, Jeremy, it was live the other night. I don't know if you got to see that when you watched the game back, the game chat and all the different places that were represented. And you had both teams. The Atlanta fans were on as well, so it was a good mixture of everybody just wanted to hear and see a high school football game and that aren't able to be there. So that's the kind of stuff that we love to see, and that's why we do it.
And I think what was cool about that is you and I we had a conversation about it this weekend, but also Coach Rile's big on this. He wants the games out there not just for our local people, right? Like Coach Ryle has family in Illinois, and his brother was watching the game. We saw him in the chat, but we have so many boarding students whose families get to watch. I know that Aaron Pekarinen's dad watches every week that it's on, and it's 8 hours ahead, so he's watching the game at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and involved in the chat. Lucas Chaji's dad, I know, was in there. Marcelo always has a lot of people in there. Yona has people in there too. So it's been cool to see how that's happened. And you and I had this talk, and I 100% agree with you. It kind of validates everything that we're doing here, making this such a big deal to get our games out there, to have the podcast, to have all this stuff, because you want people who don't necessarily get to be close to the situation to feel like they're a part of it. And that's what we're doing.
Well, it's something too that you can sell when you're recruiting these kids to come over. The parents, I'm sure it's like, I'm not going to be able to get to see my kid do this or that. Hey, we have a relationship with Netison. We're going to have games on. You're going to be able to watch. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that can help you guys, and we want to see it help you guys because that's what we're here for. We're not the school. We're not affiliated with the school. We're Brook Hill is one of our main schools that we cover, and but that's the reason why we do it. It's extra special with you guys because of the boarding students. But we have done games for other towns. We've had Lindale and some others. We've had people from Maine and California and all these that have families and cousins and nephews and uncles that are all over the place that would never probably ever get to watch their family play, but they're able to do so. And that's what the reason we started doing this is for those people, not the ones that are going to sit at home on Friday and not come to the game, because you'll still get some of those, but mostly because of the fact that there are people that aren't able to come, like maybe a grandparent, a great grandparent that can't get out of the house, can't calm the bleachers, that can't be there, but they're able to watch their grandchild play. And so that's the reason why we do it. And getting to see the chats is why I try to get people to every game. Hey, where are you from? Who are you watching? Where are you watching the game from? We like to know that kind of stuff just because it's good to know there's people behind the video. Like we can't talk to them on the air as we're doing our broadcast, but it allows us to interact with them and give them shout outs on there and just, and then the kids go back and watch it. Like you guys go back and watch the film and they're able to see that someone's watching them and getting to watch them. So I think that's just the best part about the whole thing.
Well, it was cool to see the chat and the pride that those families had in their kids. It was amazing. Let's talk about the game. It was one of the funnest games I've been part of. Honestly, I thought the Grace game 2 weeks ago, even though we lost, was one of the better games I've been a part of at Brook Hill in terms of the competitiveness and the flow of the game and all that kind of stuff. But then Friday took the cake in this one because Atlanta was a team that beat us last year by 5 points, and they won. They took the lead with like 12 seconds left last year. This was one we kind of had marked on the calendar. This is a team that Brett, from being in East Texas, they were looked at as one of the contenders in East Texas to make it out of their region, and they've had some things happen. And maybe they're not as strong as we thought they were, but they were a big, physical, very fast football team that was going to be a challenge for us. Um, and really, we had a bunch of guys that answered the bell, right? They were able to really make some things happen. And let's start at the top. We can kind of talk about the game in general, but it kind of started at the very first drive when Atlanta was kind of moving the ball. We had them in 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. They got just enough of the first down. They were doing just enough to get there.
Mhm.
They're driving on our end of the field, and we get a huge turnover. Dylan Oots gets a huge turnover on the fumble, and from there, really, the defense especially just kind of turned it on.
Yeah, the defense. I mean, we've talked about this in numerous occasions. Vince and I, talk about it on air. Is the defense and special teams for you guys really do a great job of when your offense struggles at times, keeping you in the game, making those plays. You talk about the fumble. Um, the play to me that changed the whole game was the punt block. Block punt that was recovered. They gave it to him at the one. It looked like it was in the end zone on the replay. Um,
It
but
was.
either way, either way, I mean, it was easy points for you guys, and that's where I think when we got the idea in the booth, well, and Brook Hill can really win this game. Like,
Yeah.
we kind of came into the game thinking you guys had a chance at it, but when you come down to it, they had a lot of speed, and so you can't teach that. You can't teach the speed, but I think you guys did a good job of playing where you needed to be, staying home, and only let them break out a couple times. Their tailback broke out a couple times and got a lot of yards, but for the most part, y'all were able to contain their speed and keep them in front of you. And the special teams, man, a Zigbee. I know we're going to talk about him, but man, that kid. If you're listening to this and you're looking for a kicker at the next level, you've got to be looking at this kid because, I mean, I don't know at any level of game that we've done this year or any of the last several years, I've seen a kid with just a natural leg like that, and it's a high ball and it's deep on their kickoffs, on the extra points, field goals. I mean, he was incredible. The belt was great. We loved the belt. I'm not sure what the belt meant, but he should have kept the belt the whole week because he really was. He was into it. I've never seen a kicker with that much energy and enthusiasm. Like he was just absolutely loving it, and the team loved it.
Here's what's funny is you mentioned special teams, and we'll get to that as a whole. But you know what? Let's just start there. So Osagi's 2 for 3 from field goal attempts on Friday night. The one he missed was a 50-yarder at the end of the first half. We're just trying to get it close enough to maybe get some points, right? And he had the distance. It was probably good from 60, Brett. I mean, I'm just being honest
Yeah.
with you. He just misses it wide left. I mean, when you're trying to kick the
I
ball
want
that
a
far,
replay.
things
I want a
happen.
replay of it because it looked good from there. I mean, it had to
Well,
be close.
I mean, we saw the end zone. It was close. I mean, we saw the end zone view, but it was definitely close. But then he's 2 for 2 on extra points again, and 2 more touchbacks against a team that, when they had a chance to run out of the end zone, they did. They put a guy 5 yards deep in the end zone the whole time. Like they were wanting to run the ball out, and he still found a way to keep them in the end zone a couple of times. But to me, the biggest thing he did was the onside kick because
That was great.
it was amazing. I mean, first off, Osagi's like 6'7". I don't know, he's 6'5", whatever. But it was so nonchalant, and I don't mean that negative way. I mean, like, they had no idea we were fixing an onside kick. We had just taken the lead again. We just extended it to 21-12, and then all of a sudden, Coach Rowell gives Coach Harrison the okay to go for the onside kick, and he just kind of rolls it out there and then goes and gets it himself. Like, he just stuck that big long arm out there and brought it in.
He just sucked it in.
It was unbelievable.
I almost
Osaki,
need I almost need to see him at receiver, coach. I need him to I mean, throw it up to him in the end zone and let's get him a touchdown before the season's over.
well, not to mention, do you want to see that guy run a jet sweep if you're on defense? I mean, really, you don't want to see Osaki coming at you on a jet sweep. But you mentioned somebody said to me this week or this weekend, was like, "Man, you think Osaki could kick it like this?" Yeah, he could kick it SFA. He can kick it Georgia. Did you watch the Clemson game Saturday? They literally lost the game because a kid missed a 30-yarder. Osaki would have had it by 35 more. Like,
Yeah.
he can kick anywhere. And the great thing about it is, Brett, me and you've talked about this. He's been doing it for a little over a year. Like, he doesn't even understand how strong he is to use that leg yet. Like,
No.
there's so much more in there.
The question is
Um,
he playing soccer?
well, Coach Agnew's hoping he stays on the basketball floor.
Well, I mean, but yeah, but they can play both, right?
It'd be really tough.
I don't know.
But
It's just with that leg. I mean, my goodness.
yeah, I just, man, the kid's a Division I kicker, and he doesn't even, he is in the last few months worked at it more and more, which is why you've seen the success he's had. But I'm not sure he even understands how good he is yet. Like, you're right. I've seen a lot of games at different levels. Unbelievable what he's doing. But Osagi, but the block punt, right? I mean, we've done that a few times now. I think it was it the Life Oak game? I guess you guys were at where we blocked the punt and almost scored.
Yeah.
And so Marcelo Martinez blocked the punt. We had the block. I mean, Coach Harrison, man, what a huge get for us on our staff as a former head coach and being able to just kind of see things from a different point of view. But so I heard somebody ask him today, how'd that come about? How'd you know that was going to happen? And he just said, I just noticed on film they block it like they do their offensive line, and we knew they fanned and they weren't going to have enough people in the gap, and he just set it up perfectly. And Marcelo went and got it. It was a touchdown. They didn't call it one, but you've seen the video and you sent me the video and
It was
whatever.
clearly that video we had was clearly you could see
Yeah.
there was no point where they recovered the ball out of the end zone. It was in there. I mean,
Yeah. So we scored 2 plays later, no harm, no foul, whatever. But it just the special teams and defense, I did visit with Coach Rowell a bit about this, knowing that the defense and special teams, the way those 2 units have played over the last few weeks has made it so much easier on the offense to just not have to press, not have to force things. And it changes the game when you know you have those 2 phases whoop, because especially special teams, I know that shout out to Coach Joey Wilson, who was here a few years back. We knew that when Coach Wilson came in, he put such an emphasis on special teams that a lot of teams don't do. And I don't mind sharing this. We have a dedicated 15 to 20 minutes of special teams every single day. And then on Thursday, we're spending probably close to 30 or 45 doing it. And that doesn't seem like a lot necessarily 20 minutes a day, but there are teams, Brett, you know this, that don't do any special teams until Thursday when
yeah,
the
that's
Walker.
well, and it shows out there too. I mean, I getting to watch you guys play. This is the second game now. We've got several more coming up, but the special teams has been a difference. Like Atlanta lost points because they couldn't put the ball between the uprights.
For sure.
Points that were vital in them being able to stay in the ball game at times. And so, and you guys are able to line it up out there, and either you go for your swinging gate, 2-point conversion, which has been pretty successful as well. The jump pass, oh, to McNeil for the 2-point, that was impressive.
If you start thinking about the points off special teams,
Mhm.
right, just alone, the block punt touchdown is 7. The 2 field goals is another 6. That's 13. He made 2 extra points. That's 15. The jump pass is 2 more, 17. 17 points you can credit directly to special teams. I mean, and then you take away the 3 extra points that they miss.
Mhm.
You're looking at a 20-point swing because of special teams. I mean,
That's
if we're going
huge.
to invest 20 minutes a day to get a 20-point swing, we'll do that every week.
Maybe you should double it if you're going to go with
Yeah,
40-point swing. I mean, my goodness. But yeah, I think, and it's those little plays during the game, especially on games that are close. And we'll talk about the games coming up too. Districts rolling around, and you guys, as you know, looking to get one of those top 2 seeds to host a playoff game, because it's very important to have that hosting, because especially the travel and your fans being able to be there and all that. And so those kind of things are going to be the big difference in between that second and third possibly seed there.
Yeah. And the defense, of course, was I don't just say this because of coach defense. This has been the most fun I've ever had coaching football with this defense, Brett, because it's just been so fun to watch them. Coach Collins and I were talking about this. Our defense coordinator, David Collins, we were talking about the fact that the funnest thing about Friday, the best thing about watching our film back was there was we didn't take a single play off. Like you watch teams and even us at times, there are plays maybe somebody takes off. I don't know that I ever saw anybody take a play off on Friday, and it really is fun. It's one thing to score a bunch of points on offense, but when you're getting onside kicks and you're blocking punts and you're recovering fumbles and having big fourth down stops like you had at the end of the game, that makes it so much more fun. It makes it so much more worth it. And it's been so great to watch our defense play. But I was super happy for a couple of kids. Jonas Sarabi, who was a starting linebacker early, he's a young kid. He's a sophomore, needed to fix some things. Pushed back into action last week, had 9 tackles, the leading tackler, had a tackle for loss. He had a big sack on the first couple of drives down there to make it a long third down for them, and just played really well. Our secondary guys, Marlon Rataj has been playing really well at free safety. And
he's also your punter, too, on special teams, has done a really good job there as well.
There you go. But the 2 of the kids that really the stat line won't show what they did Friday night, but Xavier Kendrick and Carlos Affrey, they followed around their 2 best players all night. And, number 7 for them was a kid that we really wanted to keep under control. We felt like he was kind of the engine that they got their offense going.
Riley,
Yeah, Riley. And
he kicked for them too.
He did kick for him.
He was everywhere for them.
Yeah. And so, but offensively, he really wasn't a huge factor. I mean, so kudos to Carlos and Xavier for that. I'll tell you this: when we did the stats for the defense on Friday, for the game, the entire game, Atlanta ran 45. Let me see. Hold on. Sorry. 42 plays. Okay, they ran 42 plays for 306 yards. But 3 plays accounted for 205 yards.
Yeah, those are the 3 big runs.
The 3 big ones. And look, you're going to give up big ones to a team like that. I mean, they're just so stinking fast. It was hard to do. But if you take those 3 away, on 42, the other 42 plays of the game, they only had 101 yards. And that's just that's how you win a game.
You mentioned Affrey too, and he was got to be gassed because he took a lot of load last night at tailback. Had a lot of carries. He had Watley have the fumble early, and so Affrey was carrying the load last night, and so him being able to do that on defense, I mean, I don't know. He must have had a long night in the ice bath because he was, I'm sure, worn out.
Well, I remember at halftime, the coaches were sitting there talking about some stuff, and he walked up and he said, "Hey, is there any way that you guys can get me a break on special teams?" And we were like, "Carlos, we have next week off, man." He goes, "Oh yeah," and he was good to go. Like he's like, "Okay, I got next week to rest." He didn't care, but he did. You mentioned 15 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, and just the 33-yard touchdown run was one of the best runs. I know one of our coaches, Kyle Copeland, who came over this year, said it's been a long time since he's seen a cut like that because we were running a sweep to the right. He just happened to see the backdoor cut, and he was gone.
Well, it was Atlanta's whole defense had swung over to that right side, and he just immediately cut back, and there was nobody on the left. I mean, it was a great move. It was one of those you just had you could tell he had a feel for it. He felt it. That was all closing down. He just cut back immediately. It was very impressive. Now you talk about the Watley and Affrey combination. Of course, Durrett was out. Going to have a few weeks off, and it'll be good to have him back. But what you're developing right here is a lot of depth at that tailback position.
Man, it's funny because it was Durrett, and going into the year, we were worried, like, what are we going to do? I mean, Trey Watley's been so stinking good early in the year. I'm not sure we expected him to be getting carries on Friday nights yet, but he's, the second leading rusher on the team, maybe even close to the top now after with Braxton missing last week. But, Carlos is a young cat too, man. He's just a sophomore. And, he's special. And we're excited about the fact that we went from, okay, what do we have depth wise to now we got 3 guys we got to get the ball to. And he earned himself a few more carries on Friday with his performance for sure. Even Coach Ryle told the in the post game huddle told the team, he said, "I think Carlos may have earned a few more carries tonight." So
Well, what
I'm
I like,
expecting big things.
I was gonna say what I like too. I saw Braxton before the talking to Trey, and I talked to him a little bit pregame, and because I like to give him a hard time because Braxton's one of those kids. It's like he is full to the wall, like he is going to run the wall over before he quits. Like, and I know you
Yeah,
see it all the time. I've seen him on the basketball court. I've seen him on the football field now. And so he was telling me, he said, "Oh, Trey's got this. He's gonna do fine." He was confident in his guys that he was going to be out taking care of himself, but he had guys in there. And I think that's a great leadership quality that he's not down. He's just over there cheering and supporting. He was there pregame with them. Great teammate. And I saw he was a captain of the game the other night. And so I think you've got three guys that will be returning next year. I mean, you have them all back. So I don't think running back is going to be a problem.
yeah, and you mentioned Braxton being the captain. He's actually one of the voted captains. We vote
Awesome.
3 captains at the beginning of the year, and it's I'm not gonna say it's not. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's rare for a junior to be a captain. It's one of the first ones I can remember in a long time to get voted in as captain. That says a lot about him. And you're right, with him being out, he getting to hear him in pregame talking to Trey and other guys too. I mean, he plays a little defense for us. He knows the position on defense. So talking to some of our outside backers and making sure they were set up, it was great. He's even he's coming to me before games, and I used to coach running backs. Now Coach Ryle does, but he would come to me and he would say, "Hey, you know, walk me through the pass pro again, so I can make sure Trey knows. I can make sure Carlos knows it." So says a ton about him. And if you know Braxton, that's just how he is. But it was a big win, man. I will say this. I know it was one that as a coaching staff we wanted to get after losing that one last year the way we did. We felt like we outplayed them except for a few minutes, especially at the end.
Well, and y'all
Um,
deserve that one too, because after the Grace loss there, that
oh,
I feel like you guys outplayed them for the majority of the game and just kinda stalled out
mhm.
there at the end, but, I think that win doesn't make that one go away, but it makes it puts it a little bit farther away than it was.
Well, here's the thing about the Grace game is kind of like faith, also, right? Like those are games you want to win. But it didn't hurt you to lose them. And I think what the Atlanta game showed was that we learned from it. That
Mhm.
that we were able to, not that we gave up in those games, but we talk about not taking plays off. We didn't take any plays off in this game, and I think that's something we learned from that was that we needed to be that way and we needed to do that, and we did. I thought it was great. So now we get the week off. Um, well needed.
So
Our
so, let me ask you this, let me turn on week off in the life of Coach week off, though, is it? I mean,
No, no, we're still practicing. I mean, we're gonna take Wednesday off. Monday and Tuesday will be shorter days because it's also our senior trip, right? So all of our seniors are gone until Thursday night. Uh, they're in Colorado, so we just fortunately on the defensive side, where I really care about, right? Our front seven guys are all here except for one, so we're able to get in and really get some good work in Monday and Tuesday and even Thursday. But Monday and Tuesday we'll practice. Wednesday will be off. That'll be great. Thursday we do have middle school games at home. Middle school's playing Tatum on Thursday night, so we'll be there for that. And I'll probably have to do a little PA, get the old golden pipes loose for Thursday. And then Friday the seniors will be back, and we'll go. We'll actually have a little 2-hour practice on Friday to get geared up for Arlington Grace Prep. We've already traded film with those guys, so we're ready to break down. And we actually did that on Monday, so we're ready to
now
to
tell us
start
about
working.
them. Are they a classification above you guys, right? If I remember
No, they're
correctly?
actually no, we're the same class.
Or it's a different district?
Yeah, they're in the district that we would meet in the first round of the playoffs. They were a team that finished second in their district last year. They were a potential playoff opponent for us last year, and they lost in the last week of the season to Lake Country, who we ended up having to play and beat in the first round. But Grace Prep's a school that I mean, really, Brett, you know this a little bit, even though you haven't been in it long. The private schools in Dallas have so much easier access to kids that just come and go whenever they want to. And so from year to year, you don't know what you're going to get. They may have 10 new kids. I know a couple years ago they had like 27 or 28 transfers come in one year, which obviously that's a little that's a little fishy to have
That's a
that
lot.
many. That's like
That's
Colorado
a whole
level.
That's a whole team.
Yeah. So, but looking at them, I think we match up really well with them. I think it'll be a fun. Um, they're athletic. They're somewhere between Atlanta and what we saw in White Oak, probably. Um, so it's I mean, that's a huge gap, I guess. But
I
um,
was I was asking, like, between them, okay, let's see.
that's like
Mm.
80% of the teams. But anyway, um, it'll be a fun game, man. It'll be a great homecoming game. We'll have a big crowd, obviously, and so I'm excited about that. But I guess the biggest thing about the bye week for me is Saturday, going to watch a little Kansas and Texas.
Oh, you're going, I'm
Saturday.
jealous.
Yeah, so
I'm
that'll be
jealous.
that's the
Yeah.
that's the trick. My son and his buddy Cam Rye will be me and my wife will take Luke and Cam and we'll go watch the Texas game Saturday. So it'll be fun.
I just feel
Uh,
so sorry for you there, coach. I
I
just
know that's tough. And they were free tickets too, so that makes it even worse. So
wow.
we'll go from there.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've
sweet
actually
tickets. I'll,
never
I'll send you pictures of all my food.
Oh,
By the
man.
way,
See, I've actually never been to a game in Austin, uh, Texas football game. We'd always go with my family. We would go to the Waco trip because that was the shortest,
yeah,
and the fact that we always beat Baylor every year. That was back when they were really bad, when Texas would go in and win 50, 60 to 7, or it was a big blowout. So,
I will
um
warn you, easy on the Baylor comments on the Brook Hill fans. There's a big Baylor community here,
well,
not
I
as
didn't
much of a
say
Texas community.
I know. I'm not bad on Baylor. I just said that's why we picked that game.
Yeah, no, for
No
sure.
offense to Baylor. They probably know that back then that Baylor's been up and down, and they've kind of started off tough this year. I don't know what's going on down there in Waco, but they got that
But you're
nice
right.
stadium.
In the '80s and '90s, it was not good in Texas and
Yeah.
Baylor. But so that'll be me. But it'll be fine. It'll be a good way to kind of rest a little bit. Anyway, um, let's talk as we wrap up football. I want to get to a few other things too. But you mentioned the broadcast. You guys will not be with us this week against Grace Prep or next week against Grace Prep, but you will be with us the following three games at
Mhm.
Dallas Covenant, at home for Dallas Christian, at the Village School in Houston. 3 straight weeks of broadcast on that SN with you, and think of a couple of different partners in that stretch, right?
Yeah, it's going to depend on kind of how it falls. Me and Rob will be traveling together. My buddy is my camera guy, and so we'll be on the lookout for a broadcast partner.
You know
So if
what?
anybody, yeah, if any, there's
We haven't talked
my
about this, but if you have any interest in helping out with NetSN on the Village game, this could be your big break. You might get signed to ESPN. You could be
yeah.
the next. I don't know
Well,
if
we
it's
know we know we're probably on ESPN in Mexico, so I mean, I'm sure the highlights are going there. Of course, we might be in some other countries after this last week's game. I don't know, um, but yeah. So if you're interested, you're going to be at the game, and you like to sit in the booth and talk football with me. I'd love to have you join us, and reach out to Coach Hubbard, and he can get you signed up.
I'll screen them for you because I'm already in my head thinking of a few guys who may send me a text and say, "Hey, I'll do it," and I'm like, "Sorry, Chad Grubbs, you're not doing it." I don't want to say names, but sorry, Chad, it's not you.
Wow, man, that's
uh,
harsh.
but we're looking forward to that. A lot of things coming up for between Brook Hill and Edison, and then uh,
And football playoffs will be on NSN. So
absolutely
wherever Brook Hill football goes, we will travel with them. Hopefully, it will be a home game, the first one, but
that's what
either
we're hoping
e-
for.
either way, we will be following the guard throughout the playoffs this playoff season. So no worries. Out of the last 5 games, we'll have 3 of those on NSN, and then any other extracurricular games will also be on NetSN. So we're excited about that, and I'm excited to see this team continue to play well.
We're gonna get a home game. Don't worry. We don't want to make you travel in the playoffs. Let's talk a little volleyball. You did mention, speaking of NSN and Brook Hill, October 10th, Brook Hill and All Saints there at Harrington Gymnasium will be on NSN. Also,
Mhm.
October 20th at home against Dallas Christian, and that's really the last district game. So really, volleyball is getting in the home stretch here. They're through the first round, kind of. I'll get there in a minute, but they played. Everybody in the district has played 6 district games. McKinney Christian and Prince of Peace are both sitting at 6-0. Brook Hill and Dallas Christian are tied at 4-2. There's 2 teams below that at 2-4, which is um, it's Vanguard and I believe Covenant. And then at 0-6 are All Saints and Shelton. So Brook Hill's really in a good spot, Brett, going into the second round. They're off this week, obviously, because of the senior trip. They do play Saturday afternoon, so it's a little different. If you want to catch Brook Hill volleyball, Saturday afternoon, 1 o'clock at McKinney Christian. McKinney Christian, one of the better teams in the state, especially in our classification, but I would say overall. And when they came to Bullard in the first district game this year, it was I've said you've heard me say this, Brett. Like volleyball is kind of a harsh sport to where you can play really well and still lose it 3-1 or 3-0, and it looks
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
But
You lose by you can go all the way and get, lose 25-23 and, 25-22, and then but it doesn't matter how much you win by, you still get a whole game.
yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It's a tough place to go play. I get it. It's a long trip and all that kind of stuff, and a lot of adversity in doing that. But that's Saturday. Um, but the important thing for me, Brett, is that talking to Coach Mika Hubbard over the last few weeks and kind of hearing where she's at with it. Last year, this is a team that missed the playoffs. Now you're sitting here with about 4 weeks left, 3 to 4 weeks left. You're 2 games out of first place, and you get both first place teams still on the schedule. Um, but more importantly, you're 2 ahead of the fifth place team, and you have a tiebreaker over both those teams tied for fifth. So you're really in the driver's seat. Here's the great news: if you just do what you did in the first round again, you're in the playoffs, and that's a huge step. And our girls have worked very hard to get there. They're so much fun to watch. But if you can get in the playoffs, and Brett, you know this, once you get in the postseason, anything can happen.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those things like you catch fire at the right time. Especially in volleyball, you can, like we just talked about, all you need to do is win a game. Doesn't matter if you lose one game 25-9, you come back and win the next one 23 or 25-23. You're still 1-1 even though you may have
Yep.
had trouble that first game. So it's just very different the way volleyball is, and you know you can catch a server, it catches on fire, and gets 5, 6, 7 row aces. I mean, it's a different game than some of the other ones, but it's exciting, and I'm excited for the volleyball girls. That's awesome. I know you probably have some of those in basketball, and so
Yeah.
you know those girls really well.
Well, beyond that, just watching them work all summer, like when we had Coach Kofer on at the beginning of the podcast, I think episode 2, but watching them come in and work all summer, not just basketball girls, but volleyball girls, not just volleyball, but soft. Every girl athlete that we have, with the exception of 1 or 2 who may have been working or whatever, they were there almost on a daily basis. It was the best attended summer workouts we've had. It was the best not just the best attended, but the best effort that our female athletes have had, especially in the 9 years I've been there. I can't speak for before that, they're whatever, but in the last 9 years, it was hands down the best I've seen, and that's paying off. And as a as another girls coach, I'm excited because I'm gonna see that jump too, right? Like volleyball's taking the next step, basketball needs to take a step, softball, cheer won state last year, so we're getting there on the
Well,
female side, and it's great to
and
see them do that.
Well, and the momentum can flow right into a next sport.
Oh,
Volleyball
for
does well,
sure.
they make the playoffs, they maybe they win a game or 2, and then they come right into basketball hungry and ready to go, and so it gets you a little bit ahead of the game.
Yeah, those once you get the competitive juices going, it's hard to stop it, right? And so it's definitely happening on the girls' side right there with that. But we mentioned the broadcast on October 20th. So with us being on senior trip, we're missing a game this week. It's supposed to be Dallas Christian, supposed to be the last one. So the way that's working on the schedule, and I know there's a lot of different schedules out there. Even you and I had this talk because of the broadcast. So now the way the end of the season is going to work is on October 19th. That's a Thursday. Brook Hill will travel to Dallas Christian for the first of 2 meetings. The next night, October 20th, Dallas Christian will come here for the second of those 2 meetings. So you're going to get back-to-back days against the team you're tied with for third place. And if things go the way they did the first round, that's going to be
That
2
could be a
nights in a row for third
that could be a
place.
seeding game, yeah.
Yeah, and so those will be a big 2 nights for Brook Hill.
So
But
how does that work if they split, and it happens to be a tie? How does
they'd have a
that work?
third one. They'd play a third one. And it would be probably the next week. We finish on October 20th, and I think the certification date is not till the 27th.
Okay.
So there'd be some time built in there to play a third one. But it could be a huge week. And what gives me confidence is last week when we talked to Coach Hubbard, we knew that Tuesday night we were hosting Waco Vanguard, a team that swept us last year, and they were a playoff team last year. And not only did we beat them on Tuesday, we swept them, but it was I didn't even feel like it was competitive, Brett. Like we've just grown so much. The gap between the top and us has gotten so much shorter now that it's been so fun to watch them play, and
I know
excited about what they're going
I
to do.
know it has something to do with this Hubbard name. You get put all these Hubbards around Brook Hill, and things get better.
I don't know about that. I'll say this: the one I live with is the one that's got the state championship. So I'm chasing that, and volleyball's chasing that. We're all chasing that at this point. So,
I'm
but
sure you have to hear about that all the time too.
she usually doesn't say much. It's just the ring kind of gets shown in my face sometimes. I don't know.
Oh,
It's kind of
yeah.
weird, but it happens. So that's volleyball. Check them out Saturday, and then we'll be back in action, regular scheduling next week, and we'll talk to Coach Hubbard about that. But it is, as I mentioned, it's kind of rare that we're not talking to any coaches today, but it's just with the bye week and different schedules. It's like, okay, Brett, let's just handle it today. Uh, by the way, I said it was going to be short, and we're probably going as long as anybody has ever gone, but whatever.
Well, you
Um,
get us together, and it's just gonna happen that way. I mean, it's
it does
just
happen. It's fun. I do want to also mention cross country did compete this past weekend. They were in Jacksonville at the Indian Run, and it was Coach White mentioned this last week. It was a weird deal. Middle school competed on Thursday, varsity competed on Friday, so 2 different days. And on the middle school level, Addie Green, who has just had a phenomenal year, seventh grader, finished third in the girls division. Austin Foster was our highest ranked boy finisher at 28th. On the upper school level, Koju Abagunde finished 22nd. Cole Stansberry, the highest finishing boy, at 43rd. And so another, Coach White's real big on this peaking at the right time. And we know that they're getting to the point where district will be coming up soon. They're off this week again, like everybody else, apparently. And then October 5th, they'll be in action at Lindale. And then I think district may be the week after that. So they're kind of peaking right now, as he always likes to say. They're getting ready to run their best. But I don't claim to be this huge cross country guy because that seems awful to me.
I have a question for you then.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I believe Addie Green as a seventh grader.
Mhm.
I was looking at the times that he sent, and she's not far off of the high school times.
No, it's funny, man, because and coach always talks about this. Our middle school kids are just competitors, and they work hard. Uh, they do a great job. Yeah, you mentioned this. So
I
Addie
didn't
finished
I didn't know what
third.
grade she was in. You said seven. I was thinking maybe she was an eighth grader, but the
No, Addie's a seventh grader, and um, she ran a 15:41, and a 15:41 probably puts her in the top 25 or 30 at the high school level.
that's
At that meet specifically, and I think at other meets she's done well. But it's kind of a weird track too, right? He was talking last week about the uphill. It's a lot like our home course, which I
it's
think probably
hilly.
helped. Yeah.
Yeah, I had some of my, I work at Chapel Hill, and I have some tech students, and a couple of them run cross country, and I asked them about the meet, and they're like, "Oh, it was hilly. It was a tough one." So I got firsthand and how hilly that thing was, and if you're not training for those hills, man, I mean, I can't even. I'd look at the hill and I'd be like, "Can I just walk up this hill? I don't want to run up there."
Well, there's going to be a golf cart somewhere, right? You can ride on to the top, or maybe I'll just wait at the bottom until you get down. Whatever you need to do, whatever you got to do up there, and I'll meet you at the bottom. But so they're off this week, as I mentioned. October 5th, the high school will be back in action. Not real sure about middle school, but um, I did, by the way, full disclosure, saw a little bit of middle school volleyball tonight. Recording this on Monday night, I got to watch the seventh grade in action against Frankston. They got a win in their first game, and then I had to get out of there for some other things. But uh, congratulations to them. Middle school football on Thursday. Be taking on Tatum, so come out to Harrington Stadium and watch a little bit of that. Um, and just a lot of things going on, man. It's a great time. This is a great time of year. It's my favorite from the beginning of October until Christmas. My favorite time of year at Brook Hill. There's just so much going on athletically, and then at the school with Founders Day and the golf tournament, and all kind of things. And I
And
love it.
we talked about the app. Go ahead and download the app right now so you can go try to see if you can beat Coach Hubbard in his picks this week.
It's not hard. It's not hard right now. I went 10-0 a few weeks ago and I started bragging, and it's been downhill ever since then.
That somehow that always gets you back. Like you start like I feel like that's the way it was me. was way ahead, and then had a bad week, and this Diggs guy is catching me, and I can't let him pass me because now I've called him out from going over to DFW, and he couldn't compete, and he's moving up the board.
So here's what I'm going to do, Brett. Talking about people downloading the app, we get a fair amount of listeners on the show. You've seen the numbers; we're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
If we can get 10 new Brook Hill 10 new Brook Hill competitors in the pick'em contest this week, I'll personally take care of the one who does the best at the cabin at the coffee shop this week. So,
Man.
just a small thing, but if we can get 10 new competitors, I'll take care of the one who wins out of those 10 personally. Maybe I'll make Coach Dawkins do it, but somebody will take care of you this week.
It has to be a new competitor, though, right?
It has to be new ones, but the old competitors that are in there, Leland and Chris, if they win, but there's 10 new competitors, I'll take care of them.
But they've got to recruit some, though. They
need to recruit some. They need to recruit some. And there were a lot of guys there at the game the other night talking to me about different things, and I mentioned the app to them, so they have no excuse not to be on the app.
This week's a tough slate too.
It is a tough slate, which means I mean that's an opportunity, Brett. Challenges are just opportunities in disguise.
Yep.
It's a really tough week. It's a tough week to pick games.
It'll be fun. It's probably the toughest week for me of all the weeks because of the variety of classifications. You've got to be well versed in East Texas football.
You have to know or be willing to call somebody who knows. And by the way, that's not me. Call somebody else. But anyway, man, it's been a great week. Brett, I appreciate you coming on tonight. And we have talked way too much, but that's okay. We love it. And I do appreciate everybody who listens. It means a lot to me. And Brett's heard me say this. It does mean a lot to me that I hear people are like I have people tell me how much they enjoy the podcast, or they text me, or they tell my wife or whoever. Man, it's not about us. Like, we're having a good time with it, and that's the best part about it, is that we get to, you and I, kind of nerd out about this stuff, and we love it. But at the same time, it's just getting our kids out there, and that's the best thing about it.
It really is, and I want to say that I've got lots of compliments as well, and Jeremy's doing a great job. So make sure y'all help him out by sharing this podcast out with everybody that you know. We love to see the listeners increase every week. So, he does a lot of this on his own time, and it's for the school. As you know, he has a lot of different jobs at the school, and this is just something he's taken on extra. So help Jeremy out and share this out and get it out, the word out to all the Brook Hill faithful and everybody in East Texas. I try to tell everybody, even if you're not in Brook Hill, just to know what's going on over there, because you guys got a lot of great stuff. I've lived here my whole life in East Texas, and some of the things that I've learned over the last year that you guys have going on, I didn't know anything about. So we appreciate you guys letting us help you guys out.
And this is the end of episode 6. It has felt like much more than 6 episodes. I am pumped about it. And here is to 600. Well, maybe not 600. That's a lot of years. But here's to a lot more than episode 6. And for Brett Sweeney, Jeremy Herbert, so long. We'll see you next time here on Fire the Cannon.